In this session, you're going to learn how to create an external ID tenant using Microsoft Entra. This tenant is designed specifically for managing external identities such as customers, consumers, or business clients. You'll walk through the step-by-step process to set it up, from choosing the right configuration to linking an Azure subscription and completing the tenant creation. By the end of this session, you'll have a fully functional external ID tenant ready to support secure and scalable identity experiences for your external users. To create an external ID tenant, go to the Microsoft Entra Admin Center. From the left-hand menu, select Identity, then Overview, then click on Manage Tenants to get started. On this screen, locate the Create button and simply click it to begin setting up your new tenant. On this screen, you're being asked to choose the configuration for your new Microsoft Entra tenant. This step is important because it defines who you'll be managing in this tenant. You have two options: Workforce and External. If your goal is to manage employees, internal resources, or collaborate with business partners like vendors and suppliers, you'd select Workforce. But since you're setting up a solution for external users, such as customers or business clients, you should select the External option. This configuration is designed specifically for customer identity scenarios, where you need to manage authentication and access for users outside your organization. Once you've selected External, simply click the Continue button to move forward with the setup. The Workforce option is grayed out on this screen because I am currently using a Microsoft Entra tenant that doesn't have a paid license assigned to it. To create a Workforce tenant, Microsoft requires that the tenant be licensed appropriately, typically with Microsoft Entra ID P1, P2, or another eligible subscription. Since you're likely using a free or trial tenant without those licenses, Microsoft restricts the ability to select the Workforce configuration. This ensures that organizations who plan to manage internal users and enterprise resources meet the necessary licensing and compliance requirements. You're still able to proceed with the External option, which is fully supported even without a paid license. This makes it ideal for customer identity scenarios where you're managing sign-in and access for external-facing apps like websites or mobile platforms. At this stage, you're prompted to link an Azure subscription to your new tenant. This is necessary because external ID capabilities, especially for customer identity scenarios, are metered and billed based on usage. You're given a single option as Use an Azure subscription. This means you either already have an Azure subscription or you're ready to create one now. Once linked, your external ID tenant can start leveraging features like authentication, sign-up flows, user management, and custom branding. To proceed, simply click the Use Azure Subscription button. This will guide you to associate an existing subscription or initiate a new one. Note, this step is not about license activation. It's about enabling billing and metering so that Microsoft can track usage for features like user sign-ins and multi-factor authentication in your customer-facing apps. On this screen, you're setting up the basic details for your new external ID tenant in Microsoft Entra. This tenant will serve as a dedicated environment for managing external users such as customers and business clients. You start by entering a tenant name, which is simply a friendly name to help you identify this tenant later in the Entra Admin Center. Then you define the domain name, which becomes the default domain in the format yourname.onmicrosoft.com. This domain is permanent. You won't be able to delete or change it later, so make sure it reflects your app or organization clearly. You can always add a custom domain, like yourcompany.com, after the tenant is created. Next, you select the country or region where the tenant's data will be stored. This setting is crucial for compliance and data residency requirements, as Microsoft uses this selection to determine where your directory data will be hosted. Ideally, you should choose the region that matches your primary user base. Once these fields are completed, you'll either continue by linking an Azure subscription for billing, or move on to review and create the tenant. This setup forms the foundation of your external identity environment, so it's important to complete each step thoughtfully. Let's click on Next and add a subscription. On this screen, you're in the Add a Subscription step of the External ID tenant creation process. This is where you connect your tenant to an Azure subscription, which is necessary for billing and resource management. First, you select the Azure subscription that will be associated with this External ID tenant. This subscription enables Microsoft to meter usage and manage any future charges, though as indicated, you won't be charged for monthly active users, MAU, during the preview phase. Next, you either select an existing resource group or create a new one. In this case, a new resource group called RG External ID is being created. Resource groups help you organize and manage related Azure resources as a unit. Then you define the resource group location, which specifies where Azure will store metadata related to your tenant and billing configuration. In this example, the location is set to Australia East, which is appropriate if your customer base is primarily located in or near that region. Once you complete this form, you can click Next, Review plus Create to proceed to the final confirmation screen. This step ensures that your tenant has a billing structure in place and that it's properly scoped and organized within Azure. On this screen, you've reached the final step of creating your external ID tenant in Microsoft Entra. This is the Review plus Create stage, where you can verify all the details you've entered before provisioning the tenant. At the top, you'll see a confirmation that says Validation Passed, which means everything you've configured so far is correct and complete. If all the information looks good, you're ready to click the Create button and launch your external ID tenant. Within a few minutes, you'll see a confirmation message indicating that your tenant has been successfully created. And that's it. You've now completed the process of creating an external ID tenant in Microsoft Entra. Now, if you navigate back to Identity Overview Manage Tenants, you'll see that your external ID tenant has been successfully created. All that's left is to switch to that tenant, and you're ready to start configuring it for external user access.